What if the next world war isn't fought with missiles, but with currencies? It sounds abstract, almost invisible. Yet this conflict has already reshaped the world more than any battlefield. After 1945, the dollar didn't just become a currency, it became a gatekeeper. Every trade route, every sanction, every financial artery eventually ran through Washington. And for decades, nations accepted it, believing the system was stable, neutral, and permanent. Then came the shocks. The 2008 crisis revealed how fragile the global foundation truly was. The 2014 sanctions on Russia showed how his alienation could be cut off from the modern economy. And in 2022, when foreign reserves were frozen overnight, the illusion shattered completely. Countries saw a pattern. Relying on the dollar meant living under someone else's judgment. This was the birth of a shadow currency war quiet, unannounced, and entirely absent from mainstream education. BRICS became the coalition that vowed to escape, building their exits slowly, methodically, and almost invisibly. And what comes next is far more advanced than most people realize. We are already past Stage 3. Stage 1. The dollar weaponization moment. History shows a pattern as old as empire itself. Once a nation dominates global trade, its currency becomes more than money. Spain used silver to command obedience. Britain used the pound to shape entire continents. And in our era, the United States learned to turn the dollar into leverage. What began as a trade currency slowly evolved into a pressure instrument. Swift expulsions cut countries out of the global nervous system. Reserve freezes showed that wealth stored abroad could vanish with a signature. Sanctions became a permanent architecture, not a temporary response. Even U.S. allies quietly asked themselves a dangerous question. If Washington can do this to others, could it one day do it to us? The moment that truly changed the global psyche came in 2022. Russia watched $300 billion in reserves disappear overnight, an experience like seeing your house erased because someone else owned the lock. That single event rippled through every capital. It revealed the risk of dependence, the fragility of sovereignty, and the need for an exit route. This was Stage 1. And this is precisely where the collapse pattern usually begins. Once BRICS understood the danger, Stage 2 began quietly in spreadsheets, not speeches. Stage 2. The gold rearmament, around 2010. Something remarkable began quietly, without headlines, without declarations. Nations inside the emerging BRICS bloc started accumulating gold at a pace the modern world had never seen. China became the world's largest miner and importer, drawing gold into state vaults with near-military precision. Russia tripled its reserves in a decade, converting energy profits into metal that couldn't be frozen or seized. India revived long-dormant gold programs, pulling thousands of tons back into its central banking system. These moves weren't random. They were preparation collateral for a future where the dollar might no longer stand as the unquestioned center of global finance. History offers clear parallels. Britain in the 1930s, sensing the end of the pound's golden age, fortified its reserves. The United States in the 1940s absorbed the world's gold, paving the way for Bretton Woods. Great currency shifts always begin with silent accumulation long before the public notices anything changing. And now, BRICS has its own version. An emerging gold corridor, a network of refineries, sovereign vaults, and storage hubs built deliberately outside Western oversight. It is a hidden architecture of independence. This is the chapter of global finance they never teach. But gold alone isn't a currency. Stage 3. Required infrastructure. Stage 3. The parallel payment rails. While the world watched headlines and political drama, BRICS was quietly building something far more consequential. The plumbing of a new financial system. China expanded SIPS, its answer to SWIFT, designed to move money across borders without ever touching Western networks. Russia strengthened SPFS, a sanctions-resistant backbone that kept its banks connected even after being cut from the global grid. India pushed UPI beyond its borders, turning a domestic payment tool into a rising international platform. Brazil followed with its own instant settlement systems, linking South America into the emerging web. Individually, these networks looked harmless: technical, administrative, even boring. But through bilateral treaties and backdoor agreements, they began to interconnect. Not publicly, not loudly, but effectively. Together they formed a shadow payment corridor, a route where nations could move billions without a single dollar passing through. When sanctions tried to choke Russia's energy exports, this system proved its purpose. Oil kept flowing to India. Payments were settled in rupees, dirhams, and quiet central bank arrangements that avoided the dollar entirely. It was a glimpse into a parallel world already functioning beneath the surface. This is already operating most. People simply don't notice. But no escape route is complete without a currency. Stage 4. The BRICS Shadow Currency Blueprint. BRICS is not trying to build a Euro-style currency. The idea of merging 5 political systems, dozens of allies, and clashing monetary philosophies into one unit is impossible. Their strategy is far more subtle and far more effective. Instead of a shared currency, they are creating a neutral settlement asset, a unit backed by gold, commodities, and digital verification. It isn't designed for citizens. It isn't meant for savings accounts, grocery bills, or daily life. It exists only for governments, state-owned companies, and major institutions. That's why the escape route is closed to ordinary people. It's a system built for states not. The public, they govern. Said Glacieb, one of the architects behind the idea, described a currency anchored not in trust, but in real assets: oil, gas, metals, agricultural output, a settlement unit immune to sanctions, politics, or Western approval. It is the opposite of the dollar's model, and it is being assembled quietly, far from public debate. This is where reserve currencies begin to fall in the shadows, not on front pages. But even with a blueprint in place, BRICS still needed one last piece: digital control. Stage 5. The digital weapons, CBDCs, and state-level control. Every BRICS nation is racing to build its own central bank digital currency. And the reason is simple. Digital money changes the rules of power. A CBDC allows a transaction to cross borders in seconds, bypassing the traditional banking gatekeepers that once defined the dollar era. It enables transfers that can't be blocked, seized, or slowed by foreign institutions. And it gives governments something they have never had before: direct oversight of every unit that moves through their economy. China is already demonstrating what this future looks like. Its digital yuan has quietly appeared in oil deals with the Middle East, proving it can settle energy trades without the dollar's involvement. One by one, BRICS members are linking their digital systems, creating a programmable, trackable, sovereign-controlled financial highway. A corridor where rules are written by states, not by Western banks. This is the point of no return. Once digital rails exist, the old system erodes fast, losing ground transaction by transaction. Now the shadow system was complete. Stage 6 was inevitable. Stage 6. When the world quietly pivoted 2023 to 2025, between 2023 and 2025. The most important financial shift of our time unfolded without dramatic announcements or breaking news banners. It happened in small, almost unremarkable steps. Saudi Arabia began accepting yuan for energy sales, a move that quietly cracked the foundation of the petrodollar system. India paid Russia in rupees, proving that even major oil trades no longer required U.S. clearance. Brazil turned to the yuan for imports, while several African nations aligned themselves with BRICS banks, seeking financing outside Washington's orbit. Each decision seemed isolated, technical, even bureaucratic, but together they marked a global pivot. Reserve currencies do not collapse in a single moment. They erode transaction by transaction, trade deal by trade deal, until one day the world realizes the monopoly is gone. The dollar's dominance wasn't shattered, it was bypassed. And the bypass is already functioning. We are already living in stage 6, even if most people don't recognize it yet. But the final stage isn't about geopolitics or governments. What comes next is personal. Stage 7. The people left behind. The BRICS escape route was never designed for ordinary people. It is a network built for governments, central banks, and national champions, while citizens remain anchored to weakening currencies and rising inflation. As states shift their settlements into gold corridors, digital rails, and non-dollar systems, The average saver still holds paper money that loses value each year. They are told nothing has changed, even as their leaders quietly step into an entirely different financial world. History shows the same pattern again and again. When Spain's silver empire collapsed, the court protected its wealth long before the public felt the shock. When Britain surrendered the pound's dominance, elites diversified abroad while workers endured decades of decline. And when the USSR fell, insiders preserved their assets while citizens watched their savings evaporate in days. Currency transitions never begin with the public, they end with them. This is where collapse accelerates for citizens, when the state has already exited, but the people remain trapped inside the old system. And that leads us to the final truth, one that demands moral reflection. Reserve currencies do not die in explosions. They fade through quiet decisions, made in rooms the public never sees, by officials whose names most people never learn. The world imagines collapse as a dramatic breaking point. But history shows something very different. Power shifts through a slow erosion of trust, a steady movement of trade routes, and a series of choices that only later reveal their true meaning. The BRICS escape route is not a revolution announced to the world. It is a blueprint designed for decades, intended for the next half-century, and built with the patience of nations that no longer believe the old system can protect their future. We are entering an age where global power is reorganizing into blocks, where money becomes digital and programmable, and where commodities not promises anchor influence. States are preparing for this new world. Institutions are preparing. Elites are preparing. Yet ordinary people remain tied to the familiar currencies and assumptions of the past, unaware that the landscape beneath them is already shifting. That is the moral weight of this moment. History's biggest financial transitions happen slowly, until suddenly, and by the time the change is visible, it is usually too late to react.